So, as I keep saying, the concept of not being the author or no free will, and this video is actually entitled that, even though he didn't mention the words no free will during the commentary, is only a conceptual stepping stone. It's not any kind of truth. It's not a landing place. I have no free will. It's just part of the understanding. So the debates then about do we have free will or no free will are only useful if it's helping us to go deeper in some way into the discovery of who we are. Otherwise it's completely redundant. It's completely useless. So the only fundamental difference is when the mind ego is operating from the belief I am separate, I am the author, there are certain results, consequences in our life. And when it's operating from the opposite, the absence of that belief, there are other consequences and other results. That's really the only practical difference in our daily life.
Yeah, it's useful too. After I used this other perspective, that I'm not the author. Yeah, when I look at what happened in my life, I can really see that it was an illusion. I made up that I made decisions to work with that or educate with that. I just tell that to people.
So even, if I may suggest, even the idea I made it up,
yeah,
is just part of that story of being the author.
Yeah.
You didn't have the capacity to make it up.
No.
You had no control of it being made up.
No. But
this way or that way.
Yeah, but when I speak to people, I have always make a story.
Yes.
I chose to. I started to make this real estate education because of blah blah blah.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
But everything just happened, and wife and kids and houses. And
Yes.
it was just. I'm not part of it actually. In that sense.
So we can say Morton is not part of it.
No.
As a separate person.
Exactly.
But if Morton realizes he's not a separate part of it, then what is Morton? He's still part of something, because Morton also exists.
Yeah, he's in there.
That's right.
In this events.
That's right.
Yeah, he's part of it. Yeah,
That's right.
but he's not the doer.
He's not the center or the author.
No.
That's right.
No.
And just that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, really. It's
So,
a wonderful tool. For me, it was. Maybe for a young person, he has to believe this to make a living, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's different. At that time, it was a perfectly tool for me. Why not?
And it's interesting you say something about age, because Gustav and I have been talking about this. Gustav's 25.
Yeah.
So he's coming to this quite early in life.
Mm.
And his understanding is already very deep.
Mm.
But for each of us, it's all depending on our conditioning. I was conditioned to be very ambitious and succeed and be like my father and family and all that. But Gustav, for example, had different conditioning. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
But the other part is simply that for all human beings, whether they're ambitious or not, we blame ourselves and we blame others. Yes?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really looking at. That's what I'm really pointing to. When we understand that we're blaming others, feeling guilty, feeling shameful, experiencing pride and hatred, for example, these 5, that's coming directly from this belief, I am the author of my actions.
Yeah, it's vanishing almost since it's kind of, yeah. So that's nice.
And the interesting thing is, most egos, most of us, then join these two together. If I'm not the author, therefore I don't exist. So some minds go that way, and it can lead to depression, and it can lead to all kinds of other consequences, loss of motivation and all. But other ego minds go, oh my gosh, what a relief. Then I can live my life free of this. And it's interesting how different minds go different ways when hearing this, and when it's understood and accepted. Some minds have a strong resistance, because what actually happens is just this single belief, I am the author of my actions. If it changes, it challenges a whole bunch of other beliefs. If you let go
in mortal or in this body-mind organism, it's both actually. Some part of me have lost the motivation, lost, and at the same time, the largest part enjoys it actually, and sees that there is also a lot of action and doing. And
that's very interesting.
Automatically, because there is an energy there. Yeah.
That was my experience as well. Or after the loss of motivation, it came back with a different taste. So what sometimes happens when it comes back, if it goes away and comes back, it never goes away completely, because we're still motivated to get out of bed, to go to the toilet, to eat. To do various other things we enjoy. So there's always some motivation. It's very rare that somebody actually stays in bed and then dies from that. I haven't heard any stories like that, maybe. And it's even very rare that somebody like Ramana just lives in a cave and goes into samadhi for long periods and doesn't come out. That's very rare. So most of us, most egos, when they hear this and they understand it and they accept it, there can be some loss of motivation, ambition, certain things, which were related to proving ourselves, to being worthy, to being loved, etc. And then the greater part, as you said, is actually experiencing the peace and the relief that comes from the absence of blame, guilt, shame, hatred, pride. Yes. My experience was that at some point, a different kind of motivation comes back to do things just for the sheer pleasure of it, the sheer enjoyment of it, the sheer sharing of it, the sheer expression of it. Or there's some curiosity or interest or desire to create, or those are different motivations. So it doesn't necessarily go away altogether, and it definitely comes back in some shape or form. Another way of looking at it is, what is it in us, if you're experiencing it at all, that makes you want to hold on to the idea that you are the author, or that you are separate? For example, the idea that we are a soul, and a soul is traveling through many lifetimes, choosing experiences, signing contracts, various things like that. What is it that appeals to you with that concept, and does not appeal to you with this concept? Does that make sense? If we have to choose between two concepts, and one set of concepts keeps this me, soul, something individual alive for many, 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 many lives.
Well, this is a hypothetical question.
It's all hypothetical.
Hypothetical request.
It's all hypothetical.
Because we don't choose either.
Yes, I'm asking you to look at it now. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to look at what comes up in you as either a like or a dislike when faced with these two concepts. Because if you do that, Richard, you will find something very interesting. There's no way for the ego to hide when I present it like this. Is that? And the theme for this morning, for the day, was to catch the thief. So I'm coming right back to that. So I'm not giving the thief anywhere to hide. I'm just asking the thief, how do you feel about these two concepts? And what is it that appeals to you or not in both these concepts?
I just don't care anymore.
Wonderful.
And I remember this story. I don't know if it was Ush who said it or whoever. That the child sits in his father's lap driving a car. And the child thinks he's driving the car. But in fact it's the father.
Mm.
I like that one. I like to be the child.
But you just said you don't care.
Well, I don't care.
So sometimes the ego says I don't care because it's its way of hiding. I'm just going to point that out to you right now.
I think one of them feels like giving up, or like I give in, like I lost. If I would
Give up my free will, sense of free will.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, a strong part of my conditioning is to, I have older brothers, is to fight, to, you know, and like, I think if the fight stops, then it's like I stop to exist.
That's it. I stop to exist. I stop existing.
And that's not so nice.
Why?
Anyway, it has nothing to do with your own will. Well, we all tried for so many years. We didn't do it anyway. So it has to be done. Oh.
For the mind, it's not very nice, at least.
Yeah.
For my head, it's not very nice.
Yeah. Non-existence. You mean? I stop to exist.
Yeah. Yeah, then it's like, I think, my mind thinks everything stops.
Yeah.
Then it's like
Like what?
like dying.
Ah,
Like,
exactly. But if you go there, and you can even go there just intellectually, you will find that you don't die.
Yeah.
And you'll discover something else about yourself. What you discover is this idea, I will die, is completely false. What you'll discover eventually is this I can never die.
I can see that.
And then from the knowing that the I can never die, the rest of the life is lived.
From the knowing that.
The I,
Mm.
what you are,
Mm.
I,
Mm.
can never die.
Mm.
The rest of Magnus's life is lived.
I'm not sure if I understand the last part, that my life is lived, or Magnus's life is lived.
Because something is still continuing to live.
Mm. Thank you.
And Magnus is part of that something.
Yes. Yes.
So the illusory idea, this false idea, I'm going to die, drops away. And then what is lived, what is living, is continued to be experienced, is continued to be witnessed, is continued to be known, moment by moment by moment. So the only thing that changes is this idea of a
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's just a small idea in between.
And that's beautiful, because when it's really seen like this, tasted like this, understood like this, it's a tiny idea.
Yeah.
But it feels so big sometimes. It feels like, oh my God, I'm going to die. What's going to happen to me? How am I going to be able to live?
And that is what I talked about actually yesterday. That was my question about motivation.
So look at it, even if it's slightly imaginary, the potential to live without this belief in a separate I. I am a separate I. The potential, how would you live your life? How would you react? How would you relate? How would you work?
I mean, I would be a lot more free, more relaxed, less blame.
Well, could you have any blame? Who are you going to blame?
No, it cannot be any blame.
Guilt? So what's actually happening right now, Magnus, is you're already this, which you've imagined. You've always been this. And temporarily, identification, small I, separate, comes into the picture and makes all these claims. And there's this feeling. And then it goes away. And every night, actually, that's happening. When we go into deep sleep, it goes away. And in the morning, it comes back. And during the day, many times this happens. It's not so bad when we see it like this. Giving up the belief of this person.
That was a big struggle, of course. Also, to keep this peace there.
Which one?
To keep the peace there takes a lot of energy. The separation.
Ah, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But we don't need to struggle anymore. We don't need to keep up there.
I can say no.
And even if it's not a complete no, and there's still a part that's saying the opposite, that's okay. But at least we've seen that part of ourselves, which is still wanting to hold on to the belief.
Yeah.
And each time we do that, just like this, it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. Yes. For me, at one stage, it was like a child with a toy, a young
Yeah.
child with a toy.
That's what my picture was in my head. Like it's.
Will you give me the toy? No. Would you like a carrot? No. Would you like some ice cream? Ooh. And then we can take the toy away. Now, what I always find interesting when we're doing this is that different emotions are coming up for different people. So one person is maybe experiencing some relief, another person has gone into no thoughts, somebody else is experiencing sadness, fear. Different emotions are going to come up. And this is part of this so-called process for all of us. And allowing whatever's coming up to welcome it, to see, okay, that's also part of what I am. It's okay.
I think it's so many years of struggling with the struggle. It's really painful.
At a moment in Bombay, I used to go to a bookshop near Ramesh's house, and it was one of the few air-conditioned public places near his house. And I used to then sit there for hours, sometimes the rest of the day. And there was a cafe upstairs, so I could have lunch and tea and cake and browse the books or just sit there watching out of the window. And one day, suddenly I experienced this fear. What if the seeking ends? What if I find what I'm looking for? Who am I going to be? I didn't know who I was going to be. It was terrifying. And I thought, well, what if I'm peaceful all the time? What if life is okay and there are no problems? And that was also terrifying. And this image came to my mind. And it was an image that I'd had before of being in a dark tunnel most of my life. And then occasionally seeing glimpses of light at the end of the tunnel. So having some hope, some answers coming, glimpses. And then coming closer and closer to the edge of the tunnel, and there was more and more light. And then standing on the edge of the tunnel and seeing this infinite light, love, abundance, potential, all the good things. But being afraid to step into it completely, being afraid to leave the tunnel, because the tunnel was safe somehow, even though the tunnel was painful, limited. And then one day feeling, okay, I'm going to step out, and stepping out, and feeling the warmth and the brilliance of the light. And then turning back to look at the tunnel, and realizing the tunnel had never been there. except as a thought, an idea.